It's a funny thing about mirrors. Like when you really think about it, when you stand in front of a mirror in the morning, what are you actually doing?
Right, you're looking at yourself.
You're looking at yourself, sure. But I mean, most of the time, you're really looking at yourself through the eyes of everyone else you're going to interact with that day, you know?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You check it like, is my hair presentable for the office? Does this outfit look professional enough? Or do I look too tired for the barista?
Yeah, it's like you're using a tool of literal self-reflection to gauge external perception.
Exactly. It's a psychological inversion. We take this moment meant for internal grounding and we immediately turn the mirror outward.
We're constantly anticipating the world's judgment rather than, actually observing our own baseline state.
And that tension, that exact tension between how the world sees us and how we view ourselves is what we're dissecting today in this deep dive.
It is.
So welcome. I'm glad you're joining us today because we have a really fascinating, concise script to go through. It's titled Self-Love Podcast Script.pdf.
Yeah, it's a dialogue between these two figures, Shally and Jack.
Right. And our goal today isn't just to skim what they're saying. We really want to forensically unpack the core argument here, which is the mechanics of how prioritizing our relationship with ourselves fundamentally alters our external reality.
It's a huge shift in perspective.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this because the core premise here starts by diagnosing a behavior that, I think practically everyone listening does without even realizing it.
Oh, for sure.
Jack points out right away that we spend just an exorbitant amount of time seeking love and approval from others. And as a result of that, we completely forget to appreciate ourselves.
It's a really compelling observation from Jack. But if we want to really understand it, we have to look at the underlying biology.
Right, the evolutionary side.
Exactly. This relentless pursuit of external approval, it isn't just vanity. It's not some modern character flaw. For tens of thousands of years, if your tribe didn't approve of you, you were exiled.
Which was basically a death sentence?
Evolutionarily speaking, exile meant death, period. So when Jack talks about people draining their energy to get outside approval, it's highlighting this primal survival mechanism that is just, completely misfiring in the modern world.
That makes so much sense. We're essentially walking around treating like a weird look from a coworker or a lack of likes on a post as a literal life or death scenario.
Yeah, your brain reacts like you're being kicked out of the cave.
Which brings us to the proposed solution in the text from Shally, and that is self-love.
Right.
But, self-love is a concept that carries a lot of baggage. People often conflate it with narcissism.
They do, yeah.
But Shally explicitly separates the two. She defines self-love not as a feeling, but as a practice built on, 3 pillars: respecting yourself, accepting your flaws, and knowing your worth.
Those are the 3.
But I have to push back gently here, or at least play devil's advocate for a second. Is it really that easy to separate self-love from selfishness?
It's a fair question.
Because seeking external approval is it's like trying to build a house starting with the roof. It has nothing to stand on. But Shally's version of self-love, especially the accepting your flaws part,
Yeah.
that can easily sound like a convenient excuse to just stop trying to be a better person.
It can sound that way, yeah. If we misunderstand what acceptance means in a psychological context.
Right.
What's fascinating here is how those 3 pillars Shally mentions actually actively dismantle the concept of selfishness.
Oh, how so?
Well, let's look at the mechanics. Selfishness is fundamentally an extractive process.
Extractive.
Yes. A selfish person requires external resources. Right? Other people's time, other people's energy, praise. They need all that to sustain a very fragile ego. They're constantly pulling from the outside in. But what Shally describes with self-love is a generative process.
Generative.
Yeah.
Meaning it creates its own energy.
Exactly. Rather than demanding the world accommodate your flaws or, validate your worth, you're doing the heavy lifting of processing those things internally.
Oh, I see.
When you accept a flaw, you aren't ignoring it. You're acknowledging it without letting it destroy your core value.
That makes a lot of sense. To use an analogy, relying on external approval is like trying to keep your phone alive by exclusively using public charging stations.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
They're constantly scanning the room, fighting other people for an outlet, relying on a grid you don't control. If the power goes out, you're dead.
Yeah, you're completely vulnerable.
What this text is suggesting with self-love is it's like carrying your own internal battery pack. It's heavier, it requires you to remember to charge it, but you aren't entirely at the mercy of the public grid.
And that internal battery pack is what gives you structural integrity. And once you have that, Jack argues that it fundamentally changes how you interact with the outside world. Yeah. He claims this internal foundation immediately neutralizes the urge to compare yourself to others. Because as he says, you recognize that everyone is on a, quote, different journey.
Okay, right. But I want to dig into the how of that.
Sure.
How exactly does acknowledging a different journey neutralize the sting of comparison? Because it is incredibly easy to say, oh, we're on different paths.
Very easy to say.
But when you see someone your exact age achieving the exact milestone you want, it still stings. Acknowledging a different journey feels a bit like a bumper sticker slogan unless we break it down.
Fair point.
Let's say you're running a marathon on land. You're sweating, your legs are burning, you are pushing yourself to the absolute limit.
Right, brutal.
Now imagine you look over and see someone swimming in the ocean moving incredibly fast. It absolutely does not make sense to compare your running speed to their swimming speed.
No, of course not. You're in entirely different elements, facing different resistance, using entirely different muscle groups. That's what I think Jack means by a different journey. The comparison isn't just unhealthy, it's fundamentally illogical.
I love that analogy. But I wouldn't say the sting goes away completely, right? We have to be realistic here.
True.
As we establish, human beings are biologically wired to care about status. But understanding that different journey concept, it provides a cognitive buffer.
A buffer, yeah.
You feel the initial instinct to compare, but instead of spiraling into inadequacy, you pause. You recognize the different elements at play. And Shally applies the same realistic logic to how we handle direct criticism.
Yes, she does.
She states that when you have self-love, criticism hurts less because your confidence comes from within, not from other people's opinions.
Knows the phrasing there.
Right. No, she doesn't claim criticism stops hurting entirely.
That distinction is crucial. Hurts less. It's not promising some kind of superhuman invulnerability. Exactly. It's grounded in reality. If someone hurls a stone at you and you're wearing armor, you still feel the kinetic impact.
You know you were hit.
The shock is real. But the stone doesn't pierce the skin. What Shally is describing here is a shift in what psychologists call the locus of control.
Okay, the locus of control. Break that down for the listener, because that sounds like the exact mechanism operating underneath this whole concept.
Gladly. So if you operate with an external locus of control, you believe your value and your path are dictated by outside forces.
Okay.
So when a boss criticizes your work, or a friend makes a passing negative comment, it is catastrophic. Why? Because you've subconsciously agreed that the critic holds the power to define reality.
Wow. Yeah.
But if you have an internal locus of control, which Shally defines as confidence coming from within the critic, is simply offering a single data point.
So the armor doesn't make you deaf to the outside world. It acts as a filter.
Yes, a filter.
Yeah.
You can examine their criticism, ask yourself if there's any constructive truth to it that you can use to grow, and then just discard the venom. Right.
The criticism hurts less because the critic doesn't hold the pen that writes your self-worth. You do. Your structural integrity is no longer dependent on the changing weather of public opinion.
Okay, so we've established how this internal battery pack protects us from the general public, how it filters societal criticism and short-circuits the traps of comparing ourselves to colleagues or strangers on the internet.
Right.
But the conversation between Jack and Shally doesn't stop at the office door or the social media feed. It moves from the public sphere into the highly intimate.
It does.
It pivots to how this concept completely upends our romantic pursuits. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because Jack takes direct aim at one of the most pervasive myths in our culture.
Oh, he takes a sledgehammer to the idealized romantic narrative we've all been fed.
Truly.
Jack points out that a vast majority of people believe happiness comes from finding the right person. And he counters that by stating, happiness actually starts with the relationship you have with yourself.
Think about the sheer weight of societal pressure pushing against that statement. It's massive.
We have centuries of literature, decades of romantic comedies, a multi-billion-dollar wedding industry, all telling us that we are just half of a whole.
We're just waiting around to be completed.
Right. Wandering around incomplete, waiting to be magically fixed by finding the one. And Jack is bluntly stating, no, you are already the whole. If you're miserable, another person isn't a cure. They're just a distraction.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Jack introduces a vital behavioral concept that governs all interpersonal dynamics. We can call it the mirror effect.
The mirror effect.
Right. He argues that if you don't value yourself, it's incredibly difficult for others to value you properly.
Wait, let me make sure I'm getting this. Are you saying that by relying on a partner to make us happy, we are actually being unfair to them? Because society usually paints the person desperately needing love as the victim.
It is an exhausting dynamic for the partner.
How so?
Well, we're constantly broadcasting our internal valuation to the world through our boundaries, our posture, what we tolerate, and what we demand.
Right.
If you enter a relationship desperately seeking the other person to provide your entire sense of worth, you're entering from a place of profound deficit. You aren't just asking them to love you. You're assigning them a full-time job.
Oh, wow.
You're asking them to do the work of loving you and the daily Sisyphean task of convincing you that you are lovable.
It's like handing someone a dead smartphone and getting angry at them when it doesn't ring.
Yes. Perfect.
The battery is your own sense of self-worth. You're expecting them to be the power grid, and when they inevitably get tired or have a bad day, you feel betrayed. Jack is saying you have to charge your own device first.
Which brings us to perhaps the most striking line in the entire source document. Jack reminds the listener, the longest relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself.
That line, that actually stopped me in my tracks.
It's powerful.
It's one of those things that is undeniably true, yet we structure our entire lives as if we can outrun it.
It forces a massive paradigm shift. I mean, think about it. We spend agonizing hours analyzing our relationships with our spouses, our friends, our bosses.
Constantly.
We go to couples counseling. We read books on communication. We contort ourselves to optimize these external connections. But the entity you wake up with, the entity that hears your every private, unfiltered thought, the entity that is with you from your first breath to your final heartbeat is you.
If you're in a toxic relationship with yourself, like if you're constantly belittling your reflection, ignoring your own needs, and breaking promises to yourself, you're basically trapping yourself in a lifelong, inescapable, miserable marriage.
Exactly. And that realization is the perfect bridge to the final phase of this deep dive.
Yes.
Deconstructing the myths is necessary. Establishing the psychological framework of the locus of control is vital. But philosophy without action is just daydreaming.
Right.
Shally recognizes this, moving away from theory and prescribing concrete, actionable steps for the listener.
A daily regimen for self-maintenance. She advises us to actively take care of our mind, our body, and our dreams. She says to spend time doing things that make you happy and help you grow. Now, mind and body, we hear that everywhere.
Standard wellness advice.
Right, standard baseline. Go to the gym, meditate, eat some spinach. But I want to zero in on that third word, dreams.
It's a crucial addition.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Why is dreams included alongside standard physical and mental health advice?
This raises an important question about what self-care actually is. Including dreams elevates self-care from mere maintenance to active progression.
Regression.
Right. Taking care of your mind and body keeps the vehicle running, but taking care of your dreams dictates where the vehicle is actually going.
Which is so much harder to do. Society is very comfortable with us taking care of our bodies. There's a massive industry ready to sell us products for that.
Huge industry, yeah.
But taking care of your dreams is a highly active, specific form of self-love that requires real vulnerability.
It really does.
It means taking your own ambitions seriously, even when the external world isn't giving you any applause for it yet. It means carving out an hour on a Tuesday night to write a chapter of a novel or research a business idea instead of just scrolling on your phone to numb out.
And if we look at the causality here, abandoning those dreams is exactly what leads to the relationship resentment we discussed earlier.
Oh, wow. How so?
When we betray our own ambitions, we create a void. We then demand our partners or our peers fill that void with extra validation.
That makes so much sense.
Honoring your dreams is the ultimate proof that you respect yourself, bringing us full circle to the very first definition of self-love Shally offered.
And to solidify this daily practice, Shally offers a very specific, tangible exercise. She prescribes a literal mirror mantra.
Bringing it back to the mirror.
Going back to our opening hook about the mirror, exactly. Instead of looking in it to check if you're presentable for the office, she tells you to look in the mirror and say, I am enough, I am worthy, I deserve love and respect.
Let's analyze the phrasing of that mantra because the word choice is highly intentional.
Okay.
I am enough. This is a direct counteroffensive to the endless pursuit of external approval we started with. It verbally shuts down the feeling of deficit.
Right.
I am worthy. This reinforces the internal locus of control. Your value is innate, not something you have to earn through people-pleasing today.
I love that.
And I deserve love and respect. This sets the baseline for the mirror effect in all your relationships. It dictates the minimum standard you will accept from others.
It's a complete